The $8,000 Valentino heels click against courthouse marble like gunshots. Each step echoes. Each step announces arrival. Each step says, I don't belong here. Cassandra Whitmore stops halfway down the center aisle of Judge Frank Caprio's Providence courtroom. She doesn't approach the defendant's table. She doesn't acknowledge the judge. She poses, one hand on her hip, designer sunglasses covering half her face, a smirk playing at her glossed lips. Her assistant, a nervous 20-something, clutching a ring light, actually checks the courtroom lighting. Someone in the gallery gasps. An elderly man in the third row mutters something that sounds like disbelief mixed with rage. Judge Caprio looks up from his bench. His voice is calm, surgical. Ms. Whitmore, remove your sunglasses and approach the bench. Cassandra waves her hand like she's shooing a waiter. Actually, it's just Cassandra now. One name, like Beyoncé. Better for SEO. She doesn't remove the sunglasses. And I really can't take these off. The lighting in here is absolutely brutal for my complexion. My dermatologist, Dr. Chen on the east side, he's incredible. He says fluorescent lights cause premature aging. The courtroom erupts in whispers. Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes, something that makes the bailiff stand straighter. Ms. Whitmore, this is a court of law, not a photography studio. Remove your sunglasses immediately. Cassandra sighs dramatically, like a teenager asked to clean her room. She removes the sunglasses slowly, painfully, then immediately pulls out a compact mirror. She examines her reflection while Judge Caprio is still speaking. Reapplies her lipstick, Chanel Rouge Allure and Pirate, if anyone's wondering, with the focused intensity of a surgeon. Fine, she says, snapping the compact shut. But if I develop fine lines from these lights, I'm blaming the city's completely outdated infrastructure. What this famous socialite did next would become the most viral courtroom moment of the decade. The sentence Judge Caprio handed down wouldn't just punish her. It would strip away every layer of her carefully constructed persona, revealing the emptiness underneath. But first, you need to understand exactly who Cassandra Whitmore is, and why what happens to her in the next hour will destroy everything she's built. Subscribe to All Rise if you believe fame should never place anyone above the law. The clerk stands, adjusts her glasses, reads in a steady voice that cuts through the tension. The state of Rhode Island versus Cassandra Whitmore. The defendant is charged with... She pauses, takes a breath. Assault on a healthcare worker, destruction of medical equipment, filing a false emergency services report, and obstruction of justice through attempted witness intimidation. Each charge lands like a hammer. The gallery leans forward. Cassandra examines her nails, shifts her weight from one $8,000 heel to the other, looking for all the world like someone waiting for coffee, not someone facing criminal charges. For those who don't know Cassandra Whitmore, and after today you'll wish you didn't, let me explain. She's Providence's most infamous socialite, 2.8 million Instagram followers, her entire life documented online, curated, filtered, captioned for maximum aspiration. She's never worked a real job, possesses no particular talent. What she has is a trust fund. Her grandfather founded a real estate empire. That family money funds her entire existence. She posts photos of designer handbags, luxury hotel suites, champagne brunches, sunset views from private yachts. Her tagline, living unapologetically. She has brand deals with fashion companies, partnerships with luxury hotels, sponsorships from champagne brands. She appears at charity galas, always photographed, always wearing something devastatingly expensive, always smiling that practiced smile that never reaches her eyes. She's never actually helped at these events. She shows up, gets photographed, leaves. That's her contribution. That's her life. But 3 weeks ago, something happened. Something that brought her into Judge Caprio's courtroom. Something that will end her career in less than an hour. Judge Caprio looks at Cassandra over his reading glasses. Ms. Whitmore, do you understand the charges against you? Cassandra waves her hand dismissively. I understand this is a massive misunderstanding. My legal team, I pay them $800 an hour, by the way, should have handled this quietly. I don't understand why I'm even here in person. She glances at her phone. Couldn't we do this over Zoom? I have a brand collaboration at 3. Swiss watch company. Very exclusive. They're flying in from Geneva specifically to meet with me. Judge Caprio sets his pen down deliberately. Ms. Whitmore, you assaulted a nurse. You destroyed medical equipment. You filed a false 911 report. These are serious criminal charges that carry jail time. Cassandra actually laughs, a bright, tinkling sound completely disconnected from reality. Okay, assault is really dramatic language. It was barely a push, maybe a shove, some light contact at most. She looks at her attorney, a distinguished man in his 60s who looks like he's aged 10 years in the past 3 weeks. Bernard, tell him. Bernard Hayes stands with the weariness of someone fighting a losing battle. Your Honor, my client is young and perhaps doesn't fully grasp. Cassandra cuts him off. Bernie, stop. I understand perfectly. She turns back to Judge Caprio. This is just bureaucracy. Red tape. My family has been donating to this city for 3 generations. We're basically pillars of society here. Her voice drips with entitlement. When something like this happens, something minor and unfortunate, there's usually a way to handle it quietly, without all this public spectacle. Judge Caprio's voice takes on an edge. Ms. Whitmore, your family's philanthropy does not grant you immunity from prosecution. It does not place you above the law. Cassandra looks genuinely confused. But doesn't it, though? She tilts her head. I mean, practically speaking, isn't that how this works? That's how it's always worked in my experience. The courtroom has gone silent. Even the whispers have stopped. If you've ever met someone who thought wealth meant immunity, like this video, now, Judge Caprio's voice cuts through the silence. Nurse Rachel Morrison, please approach the witness stand. A woman rises from the gallery. Rachel Morrison is 34 years old. She's wearing scrubs, clean but worn from 1,000 washes. The kind nurses put on for another 12-hour shift at Rhode Island Hospital's emergency department. Her hands shake slightly as she walks forward. Cassandra is scrolling through her phone, thumbs moving rapidly across the screen, completely ignoring the woman approaching the stand. Ms. Whitmore. Whitmore, Judge Caprio says sharply. Put that phone down and listen to Nurse Morrison. Cassandra glances up briefly, rolls her eyes theatrically, places her phone face down on the defendant's table, but her fingers keep twitching toward it. Rachel takes the stand, steadies herself, begins to speak. Your Honor, 3 weeks ago, Miss Whitmore came into the ER at 2:30 in the morning. She was intoxicated. She'd fallen at a nightclub and hit her head. Her voice trembles but grows stronger. We did a standard assessment, checked her vitals, started an IV for hydration, standard protocol for head injuries with alcohol involvement. Rachel pauses. She didn't want to wait. She kept saying she had an Instagram story to post, that her followers were waiting, that this was terrible content, and she needed to leave. Cassandra snorts, actually snorts during testimony. Rachel's voice hardens. When I told her she needed to stay for observation, hospital policy for head injuries, she became verbally abusive. She called me a nobody nurse who didn't understand who she was. Rachel pulls out a printed screenshot from a folder. She posted this to her Instagram story while I was treating her. The courtroom monitor flickers on. A photo appears, Cassandra in a hospital bed, hair perfectly arranged, makeup flawless. The caption reads, ER vibes. Even hospitals can't dim my glow. Living unapologetically at ER fashion. Below it, another story. A video of Rachel checking IV equipment. Cassandra's voice on the recording. My nurse is so pressed. Like, girl, relax. I'm fine. Some people just can't handle excellence. The courtroom is silent. Rachel continues. When I told her we needed to keep her another 2 hours for observation, she stood up, ripped out her IV. Blood went everywhere. Her voice cracks. Then she shoved me. Hard. I fell backward into the crash cart. $12,000 worth of emergency medical equipment, defibrillator, medications, sterile supplies, destroyed. Rachel wipes her eyes. She looked at me on the floor, bleeding equipment scattered everywhere, and she took a photo. She actually took a photo and started to post it before security arrived. Cassandra yawns, doesn't even try to hide it. Comment below. Would you forgive her after hearing this? Prosecutor Sarah Chen stands. Your Honor, we have security footage from Rhode Island Hospital. With the court's permission. Show it, Judge Caprio says. The monitor flickers. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. Hospital ER. Camera angle from ceiling. Cassandra is visible in a hospital bed in Bay 7. Rachel Morrison approaches, checks the IV, makes notes on a tablet. At 2:48 a.m., Cassandra stands abruptly. Her movements are unsteady, intoxicated. She grabs the IV line and rips it out. Blood spurts. Rachel moves forward, hands raised, clearly trying to help. At 2:48:23, Cassandra shoves Rachel hard. Both hands, full force. Rachel falls backward into the crash cart. Equipment crashes to the floor. The defibrillator hits the ground. Cracks open. Medication vials shatter. At 2:48:31, Cassandra pulls out her phone, points it at Rachel on the floor, takes photos. Her mouth is moving, clearly speaking, but there's no audio. At 2:48:54, two security guards enter the frame. Cassandra immediately drops the Victim Act, points at Rachel. Her body language shifts completely. The video ends. Judge Caprio lets the silence sit for 10 full seconds. Ms. Whitmore, the footage shows you standing, removing your IV against medical advice, shoving Nurse Morrison with both hands, then photographing the damage you caused. He pauses. Does that match your memory? Cassandra shrugs. The angle makes it look worse than it was. Yes or no, did you shove Nurse Morrison? Silence. Ms. Whitmore, answer the question. I was frustrated. That's not a yes or no. More silence. Did you physically shove a nurse who was providing you medical care? 5 seconds. 10. 15. Yes. Sarah Chen stands again. Your Honor, there's one more piece of evidence. The 911 call Ms. Whitmore made 17 minutes after security escorted her from the hospital. Judge Caprio nods. Play it. A recording fills the courtroom. Cassandra's voice, breathless and panicked, but clearly performed. 911, I need help. I was just assaulted by a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital. She attacked me. I'm in my car in the parking lot. I'm bleeding. I think she tried to hurt me on purpose. I want to press charges. The operator's voice. Ma'am, can you describe what happened? She shoved me into medical equipment because I asked to leave. She was angry I didn't want to wait. She's unstable, dangerous. You need to arrest her. The call ends. The courtroom is silent. Judge Caprio looks at Cassandra. You called 911 and claimed Nurse Morrison assaulted you 17 minutes after security footage shows you assaulting her. Cassandra shifts uncomfortably. I was confused, disoriented. I'd hit my head, remember? I wasn't thinking clearly. You were clear enough to post to Instagram, clear enough to photograph evidence, clear enough to fabricate a detailed story for emergency services. I made a mistake. You made a false report designed to criminalize your victim. Judge Caprio picks up another document. After that call, Providence police opened an investigation into Nurse Morrison. She was questioned for 6 hours. She faced potential assault charges and possible license suspension. He looks at Rachel. Tell the court what happened. Rachel's voice shakes. I spent 6 hours at the police station. They took my statement, reviewed my employment history, contacted the nursing board. I thought I was going to lose my license, lose everything I'd worked for. She wipes tears. I have student loans, 2 kids. I'm the sole income for my family. That license is everything. Cassandra examines her nails. Judge Caprio's voice drops to barely above a whisper. Ms. Whitmore, look at Nurse Morrison. Cassandra glances up briefly. Look at her. Cassandra meets Rachel's eyes for maybe half a second, then looks away. Do you have anything to say? Cassandra shrugs. I already said I was sorry to my attorney. Bernie, you told her I was sorry, right? Bernard Hayes looks like he wants to disappear. So Whitmore, an apology through legal counsel isn't... Look, Cassandra interrupts. My insurance will cover the equipment. She keeps her job. Problem solved. Can we move on? Subscribe to All Rise if you believe real apologies require looking someone in the eye. Judge Caprio opens a thick file. Ms. Whitmore, I'm looking at your record. This isn't your first incident. Cassandra tenses. 2 years ago, disorderly conduct at a restaurant. Charges dropped after your father's attorney intervened. He flips a page. 18 months ago, verbal altercation with a flight attendant. Airline declined to press charges after your family made a charitable donation to their employee fund. Another page. 10 months ago, public intoxication, dismissed administratively. He closes the file. Every time money made it disappear. Every time influence erased accountability. Cassandra's attorney stands. Your Honor, those incidents are not part of the current charges. They establish pattern, Mr. Hayes. Sit down. Judge Caprio leans forward. Mrs. Whitmore, you've spent your entire adult life believing that wealth insulates you from consequences, that followers equal power, that fame means immunity. He pauses. Today, that ends. Judge Caprio picks up his sentencing document. The rustling of paper is the only sound in the courtroom. Here is the sentence of this court. For assault on a healthcare worker, $15,000 fine and 60 days in county jail. Cassandra's mouth drops open. For destruction of medical equipment, $12,000 restitution to Rhode Island Hospital. Her hands grip the table. For filing a false emergency report, $10,000 fine and an additional 30 days in jail. For obstruction of justice through attempted witness intimidation, $8,000 fine. Total fines and restitution, $45,000. Total jail time, 90 days. Cassandra stands abruptly. 90 days? Are you? Sit down, Ms. Whitmore. She sits, but Judge Caprio isn't finished. Additionally, you will complete 400 hours of community service, not at a charity gala, not at a fundraiser where photographers are present. You will work at Rhode Island Hospital, in the emergency department, where Nurse Morrison works. Cassandra's face goes pale. You will stock supplies, clean examination rooms, assist with patient transport. You will do the work that the people you look down on do every single day. And you will do it in scrubs, not designer clothes, not $8,000 heels, not 40,000 handbags. You will do it where people can see you, where your followers can see you, where everyone will know that Cassandra Whitmore is cleaning hospital rooms because she thought she was too important to follow basic human decency. Cassandra is shaking. No, people will see. They'll take photos. My career, yes, they will see you, and you will survive it. Judge Caprio continues. Furthermore, complete social media blackout for 1 year. All accounts frozen by court order. No posts, no stories, no engagement. Cassandra screams, an actual scream that echoes off the walls. A year? I'll lose everything. My deals, my sponsors, everything I've built. Judge Caprio's voice is steel. What you've built is a facade. This sentence removes the facade. What remains, if anything, is who you actually are. He picks up his pen. You will also write a public apology to Nurse Morrison, not typed, handwritten, delivered in person. And when you complete your jail time and community service, you will create one final video. Title, The Truth About My Life. You will disclose everything, the bought followers, the staged lifestyle, the family money, the incidents your father's attorneys made disappear. The court will review it before you post to ensure authenticity. Cassandra stares at him in complete devastation. You're making me confess I'm a fraud, publicly. Judge Caprio nods slowly. I'm making you tell the truth for the first time in your life. Cassandra Whitmore is led from the courtroom by the bailiff, still crying, designer suit wrinkled, carefully constructed image completely shattered. Within hours, citizen footage of her meltdown goes viral. Within days, every brand deal terminates. Within weeks, her follower count plummets, from 2.8 million to 340,000. Most of those remaining are people watching her fall, but Judge Caprio isn't done. He issues formal recommendations. 1. Hospital assault penalties tripled statewide. 2. Healthcare Worker Protection Act, mandatory jail time for assaults on medical staff. 3. false emergency report database, public record of fraudulent 911 calls. 4. Social media evidence protocols. Deleted posts can be subpoenaed and used in court. Within 6 months, all 4 become Rhode Island law. The reforms are named the Morrison Protection Act. After Rachel Morrison, the nurse who Cassandra tried to destroy, Cassandra Whitmore stands in front of a camera. No makeup artist, no ring light, no assistant, just her. In a plain room, she takes a breath. My name is Cassandra Whitmore. A year ago, I assaulted a nurse, destroyed medical equipment, and filed a false police report to avoid accountability. Her voice shakes. I told myself I was special, that my followers made me important, that my family's money meant rules didn't apply to me. I was wrong. She looks directly at the camera. I spent 90 days in jail. I completed 400 hours of community service at the hospital where I hurt Nurse Morrison. I cleaned rooms. I stocked supplies. I helped transport patients. I saw what real work looks like, what real sacrifice looks like. The nurses I worked alongside didn't have $8,000 heels. They had student loans and night shifts and patients who depended on them. They were more important than I ever was. She pauses. Most of my followers were bought. Most of my lifestyle was staged. Most of my brand partnerships were paid placements my father's money secured. I wasn't living unapologetically. I was living without conscience. To Nurse Morrison, I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but I'm working to become someone who deserves your forgiveness. To everyone who followed me, find better role models. The video ends. It's posted simultaneously across all platforms. Unedited, raw, honest. It gets 14 million views in 48 hours. But not because people admire her, because people finally see the truth. Rachel Morrison still works at Rhode Island Hospital, still wears the same worn scrubs, still does 12-hour shifts in the emergency department. But now there's a plaque in the ER break room. The Morrison Protection Act, protecting those who protect us. Assaults on healthcare workers in Rhode Island dropped 68% in 5 years. Every new nurse in the state learns about the case during orientation. Not as a cautionary tale, as proof that justice sometimes works. Cassandra Whitmore no longer uses social media. She works at a nonprofit that provides legal support for healthcare workers facing false accusations. She makes $42,000 a year, lives in a modest apartment, takes the bus. On the 5th anniversary of her sentencing, she writes Judge Caprio a letter. She doesn't expect a response, but she writes it anyway. Your Honor, 5 years ago, you gave me 90 days in jail and 400 hours of service. But what you really gave me was a chance to become a real person. The followers weren't real, the lifestyle wasn't real, the influence wasn't real. But the nurse I hurt was real. The equipment I destroyed was real. The consequences were real. Thank you for making me face reality. Respectfully, Cassandra Judge Caprio files the letter, writes a single note in his bench book. Fame is temporary, character is permanent. In courtrooms across the country, judges now cite State versus Whitmore when sentencing defendants who believe status grants immunity. The case is taught in law schools as a model of restorative justice. Cassandra's viral meltdown video is shown in criminal justice courses as an example of what happens when entitlement meets accountability. The Morrison Protection Act has been adopted by 12 states. Rachel Morrison received the Rhode Island Healthcare Hero Award. She used the $10,000 prize to pay off student loans. And somewhere in Providence, a young woman in $8,000 heels scrolls through Instagram. She sees the curated perfection, the staged luxury, the performed confidence. And maybe, just maybe, she thinks twice before believing the facade. Because in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, cameras don't lie. Evidence doesn't negotiate. And fame means nothing when justice has the gavel. Subscribe to All Rise for more cases where accountability defeats entitlement. Dramatization for educational purposes, not legal advice.